The boy on the streets. Lagos at night was always loud, filled with horns, shouts, and the restless hum of hustlers chasing survival. Among the chaos, a scrawny boy named Tay dragged his tired feet along the gutter edge. His hair was dusty, his slippers mismatched, his stomach empty. The street was his bed, the stars his ceiling. He survived on scraps, sometimes stealing puff-puff when hunger pushed him too far. That night, while rummaging through a trash can outside an upscale restaurant in Victoria Island, fate intervened. A convoy of black SUVs pulled up, and out stepped a man whose shoes alone could buy a house. Chief Adewale Oletunji, one of Nigeria's richest businessmen, stopped when he saw the boy. Something about Tay's piercing eyes, defiant, yet wounded, caught his attention. Instead of chasing him away, he told his driver to bring the boy closer. "You want to eat?" Chief Adewale asked, lowering his sunglasses. Tay nodded slowly, half expecting a trick. But instead of insults, the billionaire gave orders. The boy was to be cleaned, fed, and taken to his mansion in Banana Island. That night, Tay ate chicken for the first time in his life. He also slept on a soft bed, wrapped in silk sheets. What he didn't know was that stepping into Chief Adewale's house would change his life forever, and years later, haunt them both. Tay woke the next morning confused by the chandelier above his head. The room was too clean, too grand. A maid walked in with breakfast on a silver tray, bread, eggs, and tea. For the first time in years, he ate until he was full. Chief Adewale introduced him to his wife, Madam Ronk, a woman with sharp cheekbones and sharper eyes. She wasn't thrilled about bringing in a street boy, but Chief Adewale waved off her concerns. "This one has potential," he said with a smile. Soon, Tay was enrolled in one of the best private schools in Lagos. He struggled at first, mocked by other kids for his rough English and street mannerisms. But Chief Adewale encouraged him. "Show them you belong," he said. And Tay, driven by pride, studied harder than anyone else. The boy's transformation was swift. His dusty hair was trimmed, his skin glowed, his accent polished. Teachers began to praise his intelligence, classmates started to respect him. Slowly, he became part of a world he once only admired from a distance. But Madam Ronk remained cold. She would often hiss under her breath, "Stray dog," when no one was listening. Tay ignored it, though deep down, he knew she despised him. By the time Tay turned 18, he was a tall, handsome young man with the confidence of someone born into wealth. Chief Adewale treated him like blood, boasting to friends about his adopted son's brilliance. He even hinted that Tay might one day inherit part of his empire. But Chief Adewale and Madam Ronk had a biological son, Damalola, spoiled, arrogant, and reckless. Unlike Tay, Damalola wasted his father's money on cars, girls, and parties. Whenever Chief Adewale compared the two, Damalola's hatred for Tay grew. At family gatherings, relatives whispered. Some praised Adewale's kindness, others murmured that the street boy was slowly replacing the rightful heir. Damalola began to see Tay as a rival, an intruder who had stolen his father's love. One night, after a heated argument with his father, Damalola confronted Tay. "You think you're special. You're nothing but a project, a charity case. When Baba dies, don't dream of inheriting a kobo." His words cut deep, but Tay only smirked. "Let's see." That smirk lit a fire of resentment that would soon grow into something darker, something destructive. In the Oletunji mansion, whispers of scandal began. Tay had grown into a man whose charm extended beyond school. Even housemaids giggled when he passed. But one person's attention was far more dangerous, Madame Ronks. She was a beautiful woman despite her age, her skin glowing from wealth's comfort. She watched Tay with eyes that lingered too long, disguising lust with disapproval. The boy she once mocked as a stray now carried himself with confidence that unsettled her. One evening, after a charity gala, Madame Ronks staggered into Tay's room, tipsy from too much wine. "Do you know how handsome you've become?" she whispered, touching his face. Shocked, Tay tried to resist, but her persistence cracked his restraint. What started as one reckless night spiraled into a secret affair. Tay, conflicted, convinced himself she was the one chasing him. Madame Ronk, on the other hand, justified it as teaching him things. But secrets in wealthy homes never last. Unseen eyes and silent witnesses were already gathering the truth like embers waiting to spark. It was the family driver who first suspected. He noticed Madame Ronk sneaking into Tay's room at night, noticed Tay avoiding her gaze during the day. The maids whispered too, gossiping about the strange closeness between mother and adopted son. Damilola eventually caught them, his mother slipping out of Tay's room at dawn. Rage burned through him like wildfire. He wanted to scream, but instead, he plotted. Revenge was better served cold. When he finally told his father, Chief Adewale refused to believe it. Impossible. Ronk would never stoop that low, and Tay. "He's my son." But Damilola had proof, a hidden phone recording, blurry but damning. The confrontation came like thunder. Chief Adewale stormed into Tay's room, fist clenched, veins bulging. "How dare you? Under my roof? With my wife?" Tay tried to explain, but the damage was Madame Ronk stood silent, unable to defend herself. In that moment, the foundation of the Oletunji household cracked. Love turned to hate, trust into betrayal, and everything Chief Adewale thought he built crumbled. Chief Adewale's anger knew no bounds. He ordered Tay out of his mansion immediately. "From today, you are dead to me," he thundered, his voice echoing through the marble halls. Guards dragged Tay out like a criminal, his expensive clothes torn as he struggled. Madame Ronk begged, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Adewale slapped her for the first time in their marriage. "Shame on you," he spat. She ran into her room, humiliated. The entire household now knew the secret, maids, drivers, everyone. The story spread beyond the mansion like wildfire. Tay, back on the streets, couldn't believe how quickly everything had turned. One night he was the son of a billionaire, the next, he was a disgraced outcast. His heart boiled with bitterness. He swore he wouldn't crawl back, not after all the insults. Meanwhile, Damilola gloated. He had finally defeated his rival, reclaiming his spot as sole heir. But unknown to him, his victory had only planted seeds for a storm far bigger than he imagined. And Tay. He wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Banished, Tay sought refuge with an old school friend in Suralere. But his sharp mind and hunger for revenge quickly became his fuel. He had contacts from his time in the elite schools, and soon, he found work under another wealthy business rival of Chief Adewale, Chief Balegan. Chief Balegan saw in Tay what Chief Adewale once did: intelligence, charm, and ambition. He mentored him, gave him small deals to handle. Tay proved himself ruthless, growing Chief Balegan's investments faster than anyone expected. Within 5 years, Tay transformed into a rising star in Lagos business circles. While Chief Adewale's empire began to show cracks, thanks to his reckless son Damilola, Tay was building his own empire in the shadows. Newspapers now praised the mysterious young businessman, who came from nowhere. Adewale would see his face in the headlines and feel a sting of regret. Madam Ronke, disgraced, had turned into a shadow of her former self. She secretly reached out to Tay, begging for forgiveness. He ignored her, except for one cruel message: "You chose your bed, now lie in it." Tay wasn't chasing only wealth anymore, he was chasing a day of reckoning. Damilola was living large, convinced he had won. With Tay gone, his father gave him more responsibilities in the company. But instead of focusing, he partied harder, imported exotic cars, and chased women across Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. Investors started to lose confidence. Projects stalled. Whispers spread in the industry that Chief Adewale's empire was losing its shine. Competitors swooped in, and worst of all, many of those competitors were tied to Tay through Chief Balogun's network. One scandal hit when Damilola impregnated the daughter of a powerful pastor and then abandoned her. The story went viral on blogs, dragging the Oletunji name into disgrace. Chief Adewale nearly collapsed from the stress. Behind the scenes, Tay was laughing. He didn't need to lift a finger, Damilola was destroying himself. Still, Tay felt no joy. Deep down, his heart burned not just from betrayal, but from the ache of what could have been if things had gone differently. And then, fate decided to twist the knife even deeper. Madam Ronke had carried a dark secret ever since that scandalous affair with Tay. One night of weakness had left her pregnant. To protect herself, she passed off the child as Adewale's. The boy, named Michael, grew up believing Chief Adewale was his father. Michael was different, bright, focused, and strangely more like Tay than Damilola. Adewale adored him, claiming often that Michael was the son he wished Damilola could be. Damilola hated him for it, never knowing the truth. But when Michael turned 16, the truth came tumbling. Madam Ronke, cornered during a heated argument, blurted it out: "Michael is not Chief Adewale's son, he belongs to Tay." The revelation was a bombshell. Chief Adewale collapsed again, betrayed twice over. Damilola went mad with rage, calling his mother a disgrace and vowing to destroy Michael. Madam Ronke tried to defend herself, but it was too late, the family's reputation was shattered. When the news reached Tay, he was stunned. He had a son. A son raised in the same mansion he once called home. Suddenly, revenge wasn't enough anymore, his bloodline was at stake. Tay arranged a secret meeting with Michael. When the boy saw him, it was like looking into a mirror. The same sharp eyes, the same confidence. Michael listened as Tay explained the truth of his origin. At first, Michael was confused and angry. "So all this while, I was living a lie," he shouted. But slowly, resentment toward Adewale and Damilola began to brew. He felt cheated of his identity. Tay promised him something greater. "You are mine, and together, we'll take everything they denied us." Michael, young and impressionable, agreed. He started feeding Tay inside information about Chief Adewale's crumbling empire. Meanwhile, Chief Adewale, broken and older, sensed betrayal closing in on all sides. His empire was collapsing, his sons were enemies, and the wife he once adored had destroyed his legacy. He sat alone at night, whispering, "I should never have taken that boy in." But the storm wasn't done. The worst betrayal was still to come. Damilola discovered that Michael had aligned with Tay. The rage he felt was indescribable. "That bastard child wants to take what belongs to me," he screamed. In drunken anger, he attacked Michael during a family dinner, nearly choking him to death before guards intervened. The scandal leaked again, blogs spinning the story of the Oletunji family's chaos. Investors pulled out completely. Chief Adewale's empire crashed like a house of cards, and in the ashes rose Tay, rich, powerful, and now the one everyone looked up to. But power wasn't enough. Tay wanted Damilola crushed beyond recognition. He encouraged Michael to stand publicly as his rightful heir. The boy agreed, but in doing so, he became a pawn in a dangerous game. Madame Wrong tried desperately to hold her broken family together. But Damilola hated her, Chief Adewale despised her, Michael had turned cold, and Tay only looked at her with contempt. She was the root of it all, and now everyone knew it. In a fit of despair, she attempted to end her life, but fate spared her, leaving her alive only to witness the final destruction. Years passed, and the Oletunji mansion grew quiet, stripped of the glory it once held. Chief Adewale, a shadow of himself, sat in his study, reflecting on everything. His empire gone, his family shattered, his legacy destroyed. Tay had won on the outside. His businesses flourished, his son Michael stood by his side, and the world hailed him as one of Nigeria's youngest billionaires. But victory tasted bitter. At night, he was haunted by memories of the man who once saved him from the gutter. Michael too grew distant, hardened by wealth and entitlement. Tay began to see in his son the same arrogance that once consumed Damilola. The cycle was repeating itself, and Tay realized he hadn't escaped it, he had become part of it. In Banana Island, Chief Adewale whispered his final words before death, "I should never have taken that boy in. My kindness was my curse." The regret burned through him until his last breath. Tay stood at his graveside, emotionless. He had gained the world, but in truth, both men had lost everything.